July 8, 1947, the U.S. Army claimed to have found a flying saucer.
I have to believe this was something from another civilization.
But within hours, they retracted the statement. More than 70 years later, the debate is still raging.
We truly are dealing with something off the planet.
It's right out of a 1950s science fiction movie.
Did the U.S. military recover extraterrestrial beings and their spaceship? If true, the U.S. government has kept one of the greatest secrets in history, that we are not alone in the universe.
It's the most important story of the millennium.
At the largest gathering of UFO witnesses ever, believers call on the U.S. government to expose the truth. What really happened at Roswell? In the summer of 1947, rancher Mac Brazel came across some unusual debris in one of his fields. Brazel loaded his truck with some of the material and drove 75 miles to Roswell, New Mexico.
Tell what it is. It's light, but thin, you can't move it.
He took it to show Sheriff George Wilcox. While he was there, local radio reporter Frank Joyce called in to see if the sheriff had any good stories.
Yeah, Sheriff Wilcox, this is Frank Joyce. How's it going?
The officer passed the phone to Mac Brazel. He told the radio reporter that he might have found the remains of a flying saucer.
I thought, I have a real crank here, a guy who has picked up some information about something, and he's got it all wrong, you know? This is a hoax.
Myself, I don't believe in it.
To get rid of the likely hoaxer, Joyce told him to get in touch with the military.
Welcome back. This is Frank Joyce with KGFL, Roswell, New Mexico.
2 days later, Frank Joyce received a visitor. It was Lieutenant Walter Hote, press officer for America's only nuclear bomb squad, the 509th, stationed at Roswell.
He owed me a story. I had complained to him recently about he had given a story to somebody else, and I'd been left off the list. So he brings this in. I picked it up, and as I glanced, I knew instantly it was the man on the phone.
The press release stated that the U.S. Army Air Corps had recovered a flying disc from a ranch north of Roswell. Frank Joyce drew only one conclusion.
The U.S. Army Air Corps says they have a flying saucer. It's got to be from outer space.
Joyce broadcast the extraordinary story to his local audience. It was possibly the biggest news scoop of all time.
It's still the only time in the history of the United States where the government has said, we've got a flying saucer.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
The release revealed a few other details. It stated that a local couple had seen an unusual craft in the sky on July 2nd. Major Jesse Marcel had recovered the debris, and it was now being taken to higher military headquarters. The incredible story was quickly picked up by the Associated Press and released around the world.
As soon as this story came out, all hell broke loose. New York calls, London calls. God, the world wanted to know about this.
Just 2 weeks prior, the world was introduced to the idea of flying discs or flying saucers. On June 24th, a respected pilot, Kenneth Arnold, reported seeing 9 objects flying over Mount Rainier, like saucers skipping over a pond.
Well, at about 2:15, I took off from Chehalis, Washington, and I noticed to the left of me a chain which looked to me like the tail of a Chinese kite. They looked something like a pie plate that was cut in half with a sort of a convex triangle in the rear.
Even though Arnold described the craft as having bat-like wings, the image of a flying saucer lodged with the public, and the term stuck. Over the next few weeks, hundreds of sightings of these flying saucers were reported. News that one had been recovered near Roswell gave Americans hope that they would soon have answers. What were these craft? How did they travel so fast? And were they from this world or another?
I don't believe that it was anything belonging to the United States. I don't believe it was anything belonging to Russia.
The news of the recovery was important enough that FBI Chief J. Edgar Hoover asked to be kept informed. The mystery material was flown to Fort Worth, Texas for analysis. 4 hours later, Base Commander General Roger Ramey called a press conference. He told the media that contrary to earlier reports, the debris was from nothing more than a weather balloon, and certainly not a flying saucer. Major Marcel, who had collected the material, posed with the mundane-looking debris. The public quickly accepted the military's explanation.
Most people don't realize that back 60 years ago, things were a lot different than they are today. If you were told by the government that it was a pink elephant, you would accept that.
Overnight, one of the greatest headline stories became nothing but a footnote.